Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
We about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of sound.
Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I am Daniel Gonzalez.
And we are here in an early morning edition of this show so we can get our guest on. We usually shoot this in the afternoon, so if we look kind of like tired or anything like that.
Everybody's tired in here except the fireman.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Exactly. So that would basically just be me. You know? And I came in like ready to complain.
Yeah.
I had a show last night. I had to hang out after.
One of our guests was saving lives.
Yeah, exactly. I like realized that. Wait, this dude just worked. like for reals, worked till 6 a.m. Yeah.
We have a kind of a crazy story today. I'll lay a little groundwork here. So years ago, I mean, we're talking 8 years ago now. Is that when we were all together at 61s? Coming to 61s into a paramedic spot on the rescue there, and
we should say who these guys are so we can get them on the screen.
Yeah, okay. So our guests today are two guys that are part of this big story that we're about to get into right now. Like I said, 8 years ago, I transferred into Fire Station 61, which is actually right down the street from where we are right now. This studio is in 61's district, Mid-Wilshire area of Los Angeles, and started working with these two guys. Didn't know him beforehand or anything. Captain Andy Raya, who's retired, captain with the LAFD. Say hi, Andy.
Welcome. Hello.
Captain Raya did 36 years.
36 years.
On the fire department. Retired not too long ago. He's enjoying retirement right now. And then we have apparatus operator Stan Miner. Say hello, Stan.
How you doing?
Works at Fire Station 5 right now, but was a fireman at 61's back when this incident happened. Was actually a medic.
Yeah.
At 61's, right? I think I took your spot on that shift there.
I worked with you.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Paul's.
Paul's spot.
Yeah.
Is that right? No. Because Paul was my partner. I took your spot. You went to the fire.
Oh, right.
You went to the fire side.
I took your spot on the rescue.
And I took your rescue spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we probably worked. We worked together on rescue here and there, saw days or whatever. But
okay.
Detailed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's a whole nother Paul Mercado story
that's
that
a
we
good
could
one.
get
Call me
into if we
back.
wanted
Call me
to.
back.
But
That's a good one.
that's for another day and another topic. But basically, I transferred into the station, and you don't know anybody when you transfer into a fire station.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
You might know a guy or two from just like working around, and so there's like a feeling out period of like, what's this new guy all about? Is he a worker? Is he lazy or whatever? Yeah. But then like for a new guy coming into a station too, there's a feeling out period too. Who are the personality? Especially at a task force, there's 12 different personalities here from all different walks of life. So you got to kind of take a minute and, take a conversation at the kitchen table with this guy, in the TV room with this guy, working out with this guy, and kind of get a feel for everybody's. Right. So in that back and forth, banter that I'm having with all these new guys and meeting new people, I get, hey, did you hear the story about Captain Raya? And I'm like, no, what happened? And then we got into the story. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
The story.
The story that I heard when I first got to 61. So let's start with you, Cap. I guess we should just say what happened right off the bat because we're going to start. I want to get into like what his symptoms were like beforehand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do the overview that you were trying to do at the beginning.
Essentially, the story that I heard was Captain Raya died on duty. Okay. And I'm like, whoa. And that perks your ears up, took my AirPods out, put them down.
That's a hot new guy story.
Give me the story, bro. Give me the story because I'm going to be part of this family, basically. You know what I mean? That's basically what we are when you're a crew in a firehouse. You live together, man. You're a family. So, so I forget who told me the story, but the story that I got was, hey, Cap was here. He didn't seem like he was feeling well or wasn't feeling well in the morning. We wound up getting on the rig or he decided he was going to take a nap, something like that. And then we got on the rig. Instead of doing that, something happened, caught a run or something like that, and then took off on the run. As they're driving down the street, Cap DFOs done fell out, right? It's a little fire department jargon. In the front seat of the truck.
Yeah.
Okay. The AO that's driving looks over, Cap, you all right? He's out. Pulls the rig over. As that's happening, you're driving by. Is that right?
Yeah. So we actually were coming back from lunch. So we all had lunch together.
All had lunch together. Coming back from lunch, sees the truck pull over. You're switching to a fireman spot. So I'm, you're probably thinking, hey, they're they're drilling or something like that, right?
Yep.
Pulls over with them, walks up right as they're dragging Cap out of the front seat of the rig.
Yep.
So
Damn.
the dumb luck that has, you know what I mean? They talk about when you go into cardiac arrest, how fast CPR is important, right?
right.
Yep.
Fast defibrillation.
Yeah.
If you're in a cardiac rhythm that can be defibrillated, how important that shit is. You know what I mean?
Bystander CPR. Now the bystanders are firemen.
Exactly. That are
God,
trained.
yeah.
So
Worked in my favor.
so work him up, get him over to the hospital, and obviously he's sitting here with us right now. So that's kind of the Justice story. Let's get into
Spoiler alert.
the meat and potatoes here. I want to talk about probably what's might be the most important part of this entire story is the 36 hours, 24 hours before this happened. Kind of start from there and just tell me what was going on with your symptoms and stuff like that.
Well, since it happened, what I always try to pass on to anybody that's might be experiencing these things is don't do what I did was deny the whole thing.
Yeah. Which happens all the time.
The night before, I was running up a outdoor stairway up to a rooftop, and I got really out of breath. And it was April, so it was kind of cold night, and so I thought, man, it's cold. It hurts to breathe. But I really felt out of breath, and it wasn't really that much exertion, and that was a big sign. I just ignored it.
That was on duty or was that off
the night
duty?
before.
On duty though.
Night before I went to work.
Gotcha. Okay.
This was something I was doing off duty.
At home.
And then I got to work that morning. I felt fine. Drank my coffee, did my morning routine, and I got on the treadmill. And I was on a treadmill for about 20 minutes or so, and I started getting this pain in my chest, through my back, and it's Fire Station 61, as you guys know, our exercise equipment is under a patio. It's kind of outdoors.
Yeah.
So, again, it was a cold morning, being April. I thought, it's hurting to breathe, but it bothered me so much I had to stop.
And getting on the treadmill and working out in the morning is something you do regularly.
Something I did regularly. It was
Damn near
just,
every morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember
And,
that clearly.
Yeah.
Him on the treadmill.
And I stopped and didn't say anything to anybody about the I just thought, it's just hurting to breathe. It's so cold out here. And then I got back on and did about another 10, 20 minutes and felt fine. And not getting too much of the minutia, but the cook of the day, Pritchard was cooking, and we had to send out a detail. And he was the guy that had to go. He was up. The guys had a rotating system. So he came up to me and he said, "Cap, I can't cook 2 meals on this. Is it okay if I just cook dinner?" I said, "Yeah, we'll go out to lunch," and which was very rare. We always had 2 meals. We very rarely ate out, even though we had a great first in district.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
the prime lunch district.
Yeah, we do. That way, to me, just off the cuff, being a captain, I thought it was more of a treat to eat out if we didn't do it as often.
Right.
So, anyways, I said, yeah, no problem. So, went down to shower, and I started getting nauseous. And before I jumped in the shower, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm a paramedic too.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm pale, diaphoretic, nauseous. I mean, all the classic. And I didn't put together and I thought to myself, I had cantaloupe the night before, and I thought, man, that cantaloupe was kind of green last night. I'm paying the price. And jumped in the shower. After the shower, felt great. And had I gone down there in my dorm, the guys probably would have started looking for me after about a half hour or something.
Yep.
I would have been toast. I would have done.
Yep.
So again,
And it's important to point out too, when you're talking about things dealing with the heart and the brain, but the heart in your case, time is important.
Yes.
I mean, time is one of the most important things. It's a blockage that's blocking blood flow to your heart muscle, the actual muscle of your heart that's pumping all the rest of your blood around. So when that gets occluded and you block some blood, oxygen, glucose from getting to that muscle, the part past that blockage starts to die. The longer you wait, the more death occurs, the less chance of that muscle being revived. Time is important. So when you talk about if you had stayed down there, they probably wouldn't have found you for 30. That's the difference between life and death.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Especially, you go in your room, everyone leaves you alone.
Yeah. So
It's not going to bother you.
Now at this point, were you looking? You said you're a paramedic. Were you looking in the mirror and thinking, "Fuck, I'm pale. I'm nauseous. I had this pain. I had this back pain."
No.
You didn't put all those together and think I might be having a heart
attack
issue?
was furthest from my mind. I was thinking nausea. I was thinking, and then later on when we went to lunch, there was again another classic sign, and I ignored it. We went to Johnny Rockets, and again working in my favor, put us blocks away from Cedar Sinai, and I'm eating lunch, and I'm getting these little what I would call flippies in my chest. I felt a little blub, and it's anybody with a
Almost like indigestion or something.
yeah,
Right.
it was weird. It was worse than that. I mean, it was like up in my chest, and it felt like a irregular heartbeat, or like my heart was skipping, just like doing flips.
Mhm.
And those are probably those wicked PVCs before you have a
Right.
heart attack.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, I said I should have had some breakfast. I had about 4 cups of coffee this morning. I'm real jittery and this and that. And then I took my own pulse, and it was really irregular. And then I started to think, and not more than a couple of weeks before, I was reading the County Straight Streams magazine, and I read a story about a captain that didn't feel right, and he had the medics hook him up, and he was having an MI.
Right.
Right.
So I said to myself, didn't say anything to the guys I was having lunch with. I said, when I get back, I'm gonna have the rescue hook me up, see what's going on here. Something's going on. And that was probably the first time I realized I was.
It was clicking in.
Yeah.
Something more serious.
So we're on our way back to say after we had a run, came back, finished lunch. We're on our way back to quarters, and we're driving down the street. And then all of a sudden, I got real dizzy, and I felt a little bit like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
And the last thing I remember was Rick Garcia, the AO, saying, "What's the matter?" And I told him, "I don't feel good." And then after that, it was like somebody turned off the TV. Everything just went black.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I remember.
Man,
So
scary. So let's take it over to you, Stan. You guys, as a task force, all went to Johnny
it
Rockets.
was
too?
Light Force, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just Light Force and
Light Force and Rescue?
Yeah.
Just a normal day for you.
Yeah, all the things he's talking about, I remember.
Yeah.
You know, and you
Exercising in the morning and stuff like
hindsight
that.
it
also?
after the thing, and you try to look for signs, or is there something that was out of the ordinary?
Yeah.
I remember him on the treadmill.
Because he had no
remember-
history at all, right?
No.
No stress
No.
test ever, nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You- normal
And
day.
never had any symptoms like this in the past?
No.
Before
No,
this?
No.
I think that's important to kind of sit on for a second. This is a man that's trained
Right.
as a paramedic, has probably seen in 36 years on the fire department 100 chest pains or MIs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All the signs that we walk in and would see somebody with, and if they go, "No, I'm fine, I don't want to," we go, "No, ma'am, you're going to the hospital," or
And
"Sir, you're going to the
especially
hospital."
You get their story, and it's the exact same things that he's
Yeah,
talking
and then
about.
normally
Yeah.
what I do is when I have a patient that's, because I'd say 75% of the people that have something significant going on that aren't dying in
Ripping,
pain or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
they don't want to hear it. I'll go see
yeah.
my doctor. They don't understand how important time is when you're dealing with issues with the heart and brain. So I'll list it for them. Okay, ma'am, listen, we've checked everything. Or sir, we've checked everything. Okay, you're pale, you're diaphoretic, you have an irregular heartbeat, you had that chest pain earlier, you got it while you were exerting yourself on the treadmill. I would go down and list all the things to you as a patient and say, I think this is what is going on. You need to go to the hospital. I'd be plain as day. So if you can imagine a person with all this experience, trained as a paramedic that has seen hundreds of MIs,
Right.
still
Yeah.
was downplaying
You
it.
just
that-
don't think it's going to happen to you.
Totally,
Just
exactly.
total denial.
Yeah.
So
It's an important point, I think, for people listening out there, that
Absolutely,
you
'cause-
have to listen. And it's also something that I tell my interns too, when I have a paramedic intern, is you have to trust what you see in your assessments. It's kind of the same thing, You have to trust what you're feeling.
Yeah.
You have to, and when it's dealing with something with the heart and brain, and time is being important, you have to give yourself that benefit of the doubt that maybe it is something more serious if this, and this are all lined up. If it's one thing and you got the squirts or something like that, you know what I mean, and you're nauseous. Sorry, fuck, maybe it was that melon,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you have a list of things, you know what I
you
mean,
gotta put 'em
you have to
together.
listen to yourself. You have to listen to your body. So you guys go eat lunch.
Have lunch.
Did you notice that he was
No.
off at lunch at all? No.
No. It was and it's what makes the story even crazier.
Yeah.
Is, you go from lunch, having fun, heading back to the station to
What the hell?
my buddy's dead.
Yeah.
So there was really nothing leading into it. But they were coming back, and we were following them. We're about maybe 100 feet back, and saw the truck turn on the lights and turn down a side street. So, I'm like, oh, maybe they're going to check something out, you know, a little drill or something. And I turned the corner, and there's Race Wickless, big guy, pulling cab out of the front cab. And
Dead weight.
Dead weight, completely out.
Man.
The guys, all, I guess, 6 of us reacted, which was, I think there's the chance when you're confronted with something like that, your buddy's going down like that you might freeze. And we all hope that that doesn't happen.
Yep.
And, there's a degree of separation when you're dealing with the public and kind of trying to keep things under control.
The emotion isn't involved when
Instantly.
it's someone you don't know.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah.
You feel all that. We know his wife, we know his kids.
Sure. And you're the highest medical authority on scene.
Yeah. And it's right now. So all that is there as you're working. But like you said, there are a lot of things were in our favor. One, the guys were great. They got the AED on him right away, recognized what was happening right away, and he got shocked right away.
Before you even got up there.
As
you're walking up,
he was already hooked up.
I stood there and watched him shock, and that was all EMTs.
Do you remember what rhythm he was in initially?
I could tell you what they pulled the tape. EMS captain came by and pulled the tape, sat down, talked with me, and I didn't realize how fortunate I was. When I got shocked, I was in VTAC.
Oh, wow.
And it shocked me back into rhythm. And you pay more attention to this after the fact. That I've been on a lot of arrests after, and watched VTAC get shocked right into asystole.
Sure,
right.
And
I'm happy if that happens.
Yeah.
If I get shock a VTAC and asystole, that's something I can work with. Yeah. So let me just pause right there. When we're dealing with the heart, and this is kind of what we do on the show is, we're both paramedics as well, so we'll talk about an incident, and then we kind of stop and give a little paramedic insight. And that we're all paramedics is good. We can all kind of talk about it. Just talk about rhythms a little bit. You have your top chambers of your heart, or your atria, your bottom chambers of your ventricles. The atria, pretty much there's a node in there that sets the rhythm for your heart. It starts up there, shoots down the septum, and then gets everything. It's kind of like a cascade. It shoots down and then pumps everything up. So that's why your heart pumps like that, right? Yeah. VTAC is a ventricular tachycardia. Okay, that the heartbeat itself is originating somewhere in a cell down in the bottom of your heart, and it's making the ventricles start the pumping, and it's going a lot faster than a ventricle should be pumping on its own.
Super
essentially
fast. Anytime you're saying tachycardia, that's all it means.
Fast heartbeat, basically. That and VFib, ventricular fibrillation, is basically just a quivering of your ventricles on the bottom. So they're not pumping at all. Those two rhythms we can shock. So you see on the TV and the movies, people, oh my God, he's in VTAC or he's in VFib or whatever. Okay, shock. Or sometimes you'll see, oh my God, he's in asystole. Let's shock him. And you know what I mean? When I'm watching a TV show or something like that, these guys are shocking asystole. But that's basically, you're either in a rhythm that's like, okay, this is what he's in. Let's start giving him some meds and start CPR and giving him some meds and see if we can get this heart going. Or he's in a shockable rhythm that's like, oh shit, we can do something right now. Shock this. And a lot of times, like Cap was saying, you'll shock somebody from a VFib or a VTAC into an asystole, which is a flat line. Yeah. Okay. Now in the movies and TV shows, you see that flat line. It's like, oh shit, But when you're working a cardiac arrest, I would rather shock that person into a VFib and start giving them meds and work from that point to try to get that SA node going again to get the rhythm regular in that heart.
Especially a witness, you're
exactly.
Right. It's
exactly.
Very viable.
So initially in VTAC, they shock you with the AED and it shocks you into a sinus rhythm.
They got me back in normal sinus.
Oh wow! So it shot, and that's kind of rare actually. And I would expect to see it if you got the shock as quickly as you did.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where it's important. You hear, and I've been talking about it today, time is of the essence and stuff like that. It's important to take a CPR class and learn how to use an AED. Twice when I've been at the gym, I've had people at the Gold's Gym in Culver City right there, DFO at the gym, old men on the treadmill, passed out. And there's an AED, and I'm the only one there that, hey, go grab me that AED. Yeah. And they come over, and luckily the guy, just passed out or whatever. But if something were to happen, you
Yeah.
know, it's good to know how to use all these things. And your incident is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
The earlier you get intervention with something like this, the greater chance that you're going to go back into a normal rhythm.
Right.
So you're walking up, they shock
Walking
him with
up.
the AED,
Yeah. So
CPR right away.
yeah, so they start CPR. Since we're walking into it, we don't really know what's going on. Run back, grab our gurney.
Oh,
so
right.
you guys know,
Right.
that's our office.
Yep.
So if I can get him in there, I feel a lot better than being out in the street.
Sure, of course.
Everything I need's right there. So
And you're blocks away from the hospital.
blocks
still
away,
at this
so
point.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So
A great hospital.
typically on a run, if we're gonna take something like Andy to the hospital, we got to call and give the whole rundown of the story. And you learn real quick. Sometimes the nurses don't have a good perspective of what's going on or the
Yeah.
urgency or the whole picture. And I knew that if I got into that conversation with them, they was going to slow us down.
Yeah.
And we're literally, by the time we were done with this conversation, I could be
Yeah. Exactly.
So I called them and I said, we're bringing in one of our own, full arrest, and I hung up.
Yeah.
Just, totally wrong thing to do, but I felt it was the right thing to
Perfect
do.
for there.
because
And a
of
good
that.
nurse will pick up on that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Another thing to keep in mind is that, especially as a medic, you're in and out of that hospital, especially Cedars too. And being in 61, Cedars is everything.
I'll
They're-
take the hit later.
Yeah, they're
Right.
EDAP, they're
Yeah.
trauma, they're everything. So pretty much everything goes there.
Yeah.
So, and they talk to us on the phone, giving reports all day long.
Yeah.
So if you got somebody who's a quality medic like this, calls up and says, "We're bringing one of our own. He's in cardiac arrest. That's all I got time for. Bye."
Yeah.
You as a nurse should pick up on
Get
that and
ready.
go, "Holy
Yep.
shit, we got a fireman coming in."
Yeah.
Did
So-
they?
Yeah. So by the time we got him on the gurney, and we're talking minutes.
Yeah.
It was a perfect situation,
Right.
if there could be. You probably know. I don't really remember if we shocked you with our monitor. I want to say yes, but only because the next part of the story is kind of funny. So I want to say we shocked them again.
Okay.
So the pads are compatible. What the EMT pads have,
Right.
it's compatible with our
You just
monitor. That,
unplug from
yeah.
the AED and you can plug it into the adapter
So
on
we
our
plug 'em into
monitor.
there.
Ones, right?
What's that?
The sticky ones.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So the firemen are breathing for them just with the BLS airway with the bag, and we have our monitor attached so we can, for the first time, see what was going
Yeah.
on.
What rhythm he's in, all that stuff.
And I want to say I shocked you on the ground. I don't know.
I wasn't aware
You were
of it.
you were out.
I can't comment on that.
So I think we shocked him right before we put him in the rescue. Put him in the rescue, and I'm sitting in the jump seat.
Yeah.
And so as they bring him in, his head's right here below me, and that's usually the guy that's gonna try to get the intubation.
Right.
Sure.
Which I'm ready to do en route to the hospital. So we have one of the firemen jump in. Hey, take us to Cedars right now. Let's go.
And it should be said too, normally on a cardiac arrest, man, we do everything on scene.
Right.
We'll work the patient up. We'll start IVs. We'll push all the meds. They'll come in and out of a viable rhythm. We'll do everything on scene.
Yeah.
Because typically the hospital doesn't want you to transport a dead body to the hospital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Used to be we'd load and go right now and get and they changed those policies. They found a bigger survivability rate when you stay on scene and do everything on scene.
Yeah.
All that, it's just like you said though, all that goes out the fucking window when
You-
it's
you
your
can't-
buddy.
You can't.
You know?
There's no way across the United States, I think, that in that situation, you would leave your fireman buddy there in the
Yep.
street.
Not
No
for
way.
a second.
I can't
Nope.
picture it. I can't fathom it. It
And-
wasn't even a question.
And that's the other thing too, man, is how dynamic this job is, because every single call is different. You can't have a template for anything. Everything is different. If this incident had happened further away from the hospital, it might have changed the way everything happened. You know what I mean? Maybe it would have taken the time and worked him up on the street there and gotten him to a different hospital. You know what I mean? Who the hell knows?
Right.
But you look at everything as a whole. You see you're only a couple blocks away from the hospital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just went down. He was fine. With all that stuff you've taken into account and consideration
know.
like that.
Yeah.
You know?
So I got the tube ready. I attempted to intubate, and he was waking up.
Mm.
Or not, I wouldn't say waking up, but reacting. He had a gag
Gag.
Yeah,
reflex
you
at that
couldn't
point.
innovate. Yeah.
So, okay.
Sweet.
All right. Check his. I remember asking Ivan. I think I was working with Ivan Coven. Yeah, what's going on with his rhythm? And I hear, I'm like, what? So I look down. What'd you say? And don't shock me again. It hurts.
That's exactly. That's
Oh,
exactly
man.
what I started coming to. What was the way the mind works? I start coming to, and I'm looking at these guys all looking down at me,
Yeah.
and I think I'm in the dorm, and I say to myself, "Oh crap! I slept through a run."
Yeah. Damn it.
And then I'm looking and I say, they're all upset. I go, I think it's a structure. So I'm trying to get up, and I feel just like every limb, like 100 pounds, like I'm like on the moon or you know,
Yeah.
somewhere.
Right.
There's just pressure on me, and I can't speak. I'm trying to speak, and something was said about the defibrillator.
Yeah.
And then I realized I was in the back of the rescue, and now it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
And then that's I've seen cardio versions before. That's why I said that. I looked at that. Don't shock me. It's gonna hurt. I just lift up my arm like this and said, "Don't."
Man, but that had to feel good to see him.
Yeah, as we're cruising
Speak
to
like
the
that.
yeah, just that weight we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That you don't really get it with dealing with the public. It's
Yeah.
kind of our defense mechanism.
Yep.
You can't hang on, live and die on every call. So it's kind of how we separate ourselves. But you don't have the luxury when it's like that. So instantly, like, oh God, all right, we got.
So this was right as we backed into the hospital when you know the rig's in the thing. So then they're pulling me out, and I still remember Stan gave the report, and I'm listening to him saying that I arrested, and it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
And when he's explaining that I arrested, and I realized, oh shoot, I just had a heart attack. I had this overwhelming feeling that if I could stand up and give myself a good swift kick in the butt, I would have. Because now all the signs are coming back.
Yeah.
To me.
Man.
Everything you ignored.
Everything. I said, holy cow! You know, I just, here I am.
Right.
You know, coming back alive. I just, I was
Yeah.
so mad at myself. Just
Yeah.
Totally upset.
But at least you're awake to be mad at yourself.
Right?
Man, right?
I should say that for those that don't know, intubating when we do have somebody that's in cardiac arrest, obviously they're out, they're not able to breathe for themselves, right? So we have a laryngoscope that's kind of like a almost like a
Curved blade.
yeah, like a
Yeah, it's a
crescent
blade.
blade that you stick into the mouth all the way to the back of the tongue and lifts. You push that tongue up out of the way, and you can see the airway. You stick a tube down there. Well, if somebody is not all the way out, or they're kind of just hanging on, one of the last things to go will be their gag reflex. You stick
Right.
anything in the back of your throat, the first thing you're going to do is gag. Well, if you're out in cardiac arrest, you're not going to have that. So to stick your laryngoscope in to try to intubate and he gags, like to me that would be like, oh sweet,
that's
he's
a
got a
good-
gag.
very
It's
good
awesome.
sign.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a really good
It's a
sign.
much better place.
Even when we're bagging with a BVM, like you'll see like on TV, bagging with the BVM with the mask that goes over their whole nose and everything, we still try to stick a oropharyngeal airway down, which is basically the same thing, a curved plastic piece that goes all the way in the back of the throat, holds the tongue off. So you'll try to stick that in. And they'll gag, and you'll be like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? This guy's not all the way dead. Let's keep working here. So you get to the hospital. At this point, now everything's starting to come back. Do you feel like? How do you feel at that point? I mean, you died. Let's just recap here. You've had a blockage for at least 12 hours. From the night before you started feeling something. So something was going on at least last night. I mean, something that's been building for years probably. You have a cardiac arrest. You get shocked twice, once from an AED, once from a monitor, and now you're awake. How do you feel after you wake up?
I was scared. Once I realized, obviously, I was scared. And you just look around, you get this strange feeling because you see it as a medic or, a firefighter, you see the same situation as somebody else. It's so different when you're the person in the gurney looking up at everybody working at you. It just you just got this strange feeling, and I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen next. I'm going through my protocols in my head. What are they going to do next? This and that, and And I remember them telling me, he says, you got here, you're looking good. You're gonna be in the cath lab before you know it. And I would say from the time I went down to the time I went to the cath lab was probably records. I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, I guess.
And we all went to the cath
Fastest
lab.
time ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
a
just
whole-
so quick.
A whole task force going from.
Yeah.
We all go to the ER, and in those circumstances, that they know.
Sure. Yeah.
So the hospital kind of gives you that leeway, and we're all at his bedside. We all want to help. We all want to,
Yeah.
see with our own eyes that he's talking.
Sure.
And we all went up to the cath lab, and I think we stayed there for
Oh, really?
as they were, doing all the
Who
diagnostics.
called your wife?
As I'm laying there and taking things up, my phone starts buzzing in my pocket. So I take it out and I look at it, and it's my wife. So I give it to Joe Luna.
Joe. Yeah.
And Joe, I told Joe, I go, I think she hung up. I said, she calls back. I said, tell her what happened. I said, but sugarcoat it. I said, don't get her all upset.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, Cap. So
Joe Luna
perfect
sugarcoating.
guy.
Perfect guy.
Shout out to Joe Luna, by the way, man.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Oh, he did great.
Good
He
dude.
did
Great guy.
Well, what he did was he told her that I passed out. And she asked him, am I going to be okay? He goes, yeah, he's awake. He's talking. And he's being totally honest.
Yeah.
Leaving out the
How bad the pass out was. Yeah.
And so he did. My hat's off to Joe. He did a great job. And she's okay. Well, all right then. Well, thank you. And they hung up. And then I'm going to the cath lab and stuff. And then Joe says to himself, maybe I better. So he called her back.
Yeah.
And he says, my wife feels terrible about this because when she finally realized what had happened, he says, do you think you might be coming down here? He says, we're at Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And she says, do I have to? And then, she immediately, my daughter was going to Cal State Fullerton at the time, so she's on her way in. She picks up my daughter, and she says, something's up with your dad. She, I don't know. They want me to come in. She goes, will you come with me? I have to go into L.A. And then, so at this point, one of the EMS captains just kind of, I come from a family of firefighters. My old man was on the job.
Yeah.
My two older brothers are on the job. Well, one of the EMS captains got a hold of my oldest brother. And so he got a hold of my wife. He said, pull off the freeway, pull off the 5. He lived in La Mirada. Pull off the 5. I'll get you. I know a quick way to get to the hospital. And so he wasn't coming in, and he said, he told her that I had a heart attack. And then he told her, he says, don't worry, it's probably a mild one. As long as it wasn't that Widowmaker, that's okay. Don't worry about it. So then the phone rings again, and so my brother puts on the speaker in the car.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it was Captain Haney, I think was the one that called him. And Haney tells me, yeah, your brother's a lucky guy. He survived the Widowmaker. And my wife said, she looked at my brother like, I'm going to kill you. You're telling me too much.
It started with he fainted.
Yeah. It's the wife of the guy with the Widowmaker. Oh, man. So that she came out to the hospital, obviously. When you came
to the hospital, I was sitting up and talking with the guy. I mean, it was totally, I got a couple of stints that day, and the doctor there was a kind of I guess it's pretty common now, but at that point it was fairly new to, instead of going through the leg, he went through my wrist and put the stints in that way. I remember laying on the table and watching the wires going up my arm, and I thought, this is pretty cool.
No shit.
Still thinking like, oh God, I hope I survive this thing.
Yeah.
Still thinking I still may die. And so by the time she got there, I was sitting up in the gurney and talking, and he came out with a computer showing the flow of the heart and when it went through. And he put in one stent. He wasn't happy with the flow after that, and so he put in a second stent. And then it said I had 100% blockage. Whether something broke off that morning and clogged it up, but I had two blocks. Circumflex was completely blocked, but it made its own little bypass, own little and then the Widowmaker that day just clogged up,
dude.
So it was just
you had 100% circumflex.
100%, and first off, thank the Almighty that He was with me that day. I just, everything worked in my favor. And then I've told these guys many times, but I just got to say it again. I could be the greatest orator in the world and still cannot explain how thankful I am to these guys. How thankful I am to Stan and all the guys at 61s that saved my life. I mean, I could have gone very differently. easily.
Very easily.
Right.
And I'm still here to talk about it. So
I think that's a testament to you as a captain too. You know, as well. Obviously, these guys are trained well. They're all EMTs. You know, a couple paramedics there. But part of that is making sure your crew is trained up, making sure everyone goes into the paramedic drills and listens.
Make
You
sure
know,
everybody likes each other.
Make sure everybody
Yeah.
likes each other.
Right.
How
Yeah.
many times does
Yeah,
the rescue
it
not
can
go to
work
lunch with
together.
the
Yeah.
with the
Exactly.
truck, you know?
Or a captain's just like an asshole to a crew, and you know the crew just doesn't fucking like. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? You might have gone to lay down in your dorm and fuck, he's asleep. Let him
Yeah.
sleep. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah.
If you weren't such a good captain, a personable guy.
So many factors.
So many factors, dude.
One
to be
thing
honest.
changes and it's a wrap.
And in
yeah.
reality, man, the way the fire department works, like any of those things could have gone differently.
Yep.
You could have gone down and laid down, and the
Yeah.
guys would have left you alone for that day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? At least until lunchtime. Hey, Cap, we're gonna go get some lunch, and found you down there. It's happened.
Yeah.
it's happened.
It's happened.
Yeah.
We could have been on a call. I mean,
Could have been on
Could
a
have
call.
been
Exactly.
down on a call.
You could have had to wait for a rescue. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
43 or something like that.
Yep. It was all like I said, just a perfect storm in a way that it happened in a perfect environment that the response to it. I mean, I was even closer to the hospital just by eating lunch on Fairfax.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just-
Yeah. Because what if it had happened at the station? You would have been a good. I mean, it's a good distance from 61's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
opposed to Johnny Rockets
Right.
to I mean, that's literally like a block, 2
Well,
blocks
yeah.
away from the hospital.
Yeah.
How did this whole incident, aside from almost dying, obviously all that stuff, how did it change the way you live your everyday life?
Well, I'd probably disappoint my doctors. I mean, my diet has changed somewhat, but I'm not a vegan or anything. I
Yeah.
still, I get my wife mad at me because I say, "Hey, I'm all replumbed. I can I got 50 years of
I'm good.
because-
Yeah, give me a burger.
But eventually I ended up having a triple bypass, and there was talk of me not coming back to full duty and all this stuff. And I said, wait a minute, there's guys that survived heart attacks on the job and got back to duty. And I finally got a hold of this cardiologist. I said, hey, look, he goes, we'll do a bypass. He said, we'll even bypass the stents. He said, the problem goes away. I'll sign you off and you go back to duty. So that's, I'd say it took about 10 months. I think 5 months into my time off, I had the bypass, and then
5 months in, you said?
5 months. I
months.
was off. They were supposed to wait like 6 months after the stents
Stents,
before they can do the bypass, but they found a third blockage.
Oh, wow.
Starting already, and so the doc says, "Hey, we waited long enough. Let's go in and do it." So I ended up having triple bypass. I ended up taking vessel from my leg, and
So just for those that don't know, a stent is like a mesh. It's like a metal mesh. What would you call it, man?
Almost like a cage.
Yeah, almost like a
Yeah.
cage that they slide in. Like Cap said, they slid it in through a vessel on his wrist. A lot of times they'll go in through your thigh and run it up a vessel into your heart, right to where that blockage is. They'll stick it through that blockage and expand it, and it basically holds that vessel open.
Yeah.
The whole hope is that it pushes that blockage up against the walls and keeps it pressed up against there and keeps the vessel open. A bypass, on the other hand, they go in and actually take a section of a vessel from your leg and stitch it in above the blockage and bypass, in your case, a stent and the blockage. Sometimes it's just a blockage, completely bypass it and reattach it to that vessel again.
Right.
So it is almost like having a brand new
Yeah.
vessel in there.
And you talk about some of the changes on the job. I've been at least 2 or 3 times where we were on, chest pain calls, and these guys, stubborn men like myself,
Yep.
don't want to go to the hospital, this and that. And I would just pop open my shirt, show them my zipper on my chest. I said, "Look it." I said, "I felt just like you did." I said, "I almost died." I said, I went to cardiac arrest." I said, "And these guys saved my life." I says, "You need to go." And they'd sit there with
Yeah.
their jaw. Okay, I'll go. Yeah. As I'm telling you, I was in your shoes saying the exact same things you're saying. And then you show them that, hey, the
Sure.
Grim Reaper's right on your left shoulder. They go to the hospital.
It's funny how that works out too, man, because like who knows how many lives you saved just by doing that.
I was going to ask you that. How many times do you think you whipped out the zipper?
Right?
At least 3 times. At
Yeah.
least 3 times I can remember.
But who knows? Because there are people. Hey,
I'm
man,
sure it worked. Yeah.
there are people that will be every single sign and symptom. And you could bust out a textbook and go, look
yeah.
at this. That's what you have right now.
You look just
And
like this guy in
you
the
look just
picture.
like this. You're pale. You're sweaty.
Yeah.
You're having a heart
Yeah.
attack. You need nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I'll go. I'll
Yeah.
call my doctor when I.
Yeah.
And they're stubborn. They won't go.
And that's that of the people that even call 911, which is just a percentage
Exactly,
of the people
man.
that get chest pain and just say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's crazy. All right, another question, because it's a weird thing to say for this show, but you're not the first guy that's died and come back to life and come on here.
I get that
So-
one all the time.
Yeah. So,
No lights, no
Nothing.
tunnels, no dead relatives. Just like I said, they turned off the TV. I just saw
that was a wrap, and then you woke
Yeah,
up again?
my theory is they brought me back too fast.
Too
These
fast.
guys are too
Son
good.
of a gun,
They're
man.
too good.
Could have talked to God.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, and like I said, the strangest feeling is when you do come back, you're just, or at least from the heart attack, you just can't even lift an arm. You just feel
Just
just
weak.
so weak. And I still remember saying, I can't go on this run when I thought I slept through a run. I can't go on this run. I feel horrible. I'm gonna have to go without me. And then it wasn't until I realized what was going on.
Yeah.
But it's just a unique feeling. It's hard to describe.
And how about you, Stan? Did this change the way you operate as a medic? The way you operate with a Captain 2?
It kind of just drove home. But we always talk about the whole train as if your life depends on it, and
Yeah.
it really, there it was.
Yeah.
And I think the real heroes are the EMTs that were on the truck.
Yeah.
Because they recognized it and they got to work, and
Yep.
it was just lucky that we were there.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I've always said, man, it's a team effort, paramedicine and firefighting. And every job is just as important as the next one. The guy thumping on the chest, if he's not doing that right, the medication's not going to circulate properly.
Yeah.
If the guy bagging doesn't have a good seal, that air's not going to get in the lungs. It's going to be flying out you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the jobs that seem insignificant, when you're a firefighter and you're an EMT and you get on scene of a paramedic call and you don't know what the fuck's going on other than I'm doing good CPR or I'm doing good bag valve mask or whatever, that job is important. So for all you kids out there that are working private ambulance, that are hoping to get on the fire department, which they're, I mean, I get them all the time hitting me up Instagram and on social media and stuff like that. Hey, advice on this, that, or this. My advice is be the best you can be at every job that you learn on this job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be the best EMT you can be. Learn everything in that book. Don't just do what you need to do to pass the test.
Yeah.
Be the best
good at your
paramedic.
skills.
Yeah, be good at all your skills. An AO, which is a job that Stan does, which is a super important job. He drives a truck, which is a huge toolbox. As a fireman, in my opinion, you should know everything in it. You should know everything about that fire truck, everything in it,
Sure.
including the medical equipment.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's basically Stan's job, is to be a really fucking good fireman that knows everything about everything on that truck and all the operations and stuff like that. But really, a fireman should know that stuff too. You know what I mean? So
And it would be easy for him to just focus on all the tools and just kind of forget about the AED.
Very easy,
'cause
man.
Everybody else will know it. You
and
know what I mean?
and let me shock you right now. There are some AOs that think that way.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I still poke my head in, and I think that's what's good about the job. You can be a paramedic and move on, but you never lose that part. And I as a favor to the paramedics that are on my truck or on the rescue, I go in there and I pop my head in because I have those skills.
Sure.
If you need them, if you're shorthanded,
Right.
I don't step on any toes. I go in, I see what's going on, and if they need me, I'm there.
Yeah.
And they know that.
It's
And
good to have you,
right?
yeah.
So it's just another extra
Right
set
on.
of eyes or hands,
Yeah,
So
because that's another big thing too, is that there's an AED on every piece of apparatus.
Every piece of
basically.
apparatus. And nowadays, there's probably one in this hallway here somewhere. If we walk the hallways of this building, you know what I mean? They're all over the place, all over the place. And if you got, it's just a good idea, man. Even if you're not a paramedic, you're not in the fire department or anything, it's a good idea to go out and get a CPR AED course.
Mhm.
You never know
It'll
when
come
it's
in
going to
handy.
happen.
Yep.
You never know when it's going to happen. My wife had our niece and nephew. She came to visit me when I was working a Saudi at 112s, and they went to eat at El Torito right there on the water. And my niece choked on a piece of menudo. You know, choking.
Yeah.
International sign choking Alyssa. Bernie had to go and do the Heimlich
piece
and
of noodle?
pop it up on a piece of
Wow.
noodle. Yeah.
Wow.
There
You
go.
know, but it's
Yeah.
just like that's how shit happens, man.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do it, who knows? She could have choked right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what a story.
Yeah.
What a story.
And that it presented as you being the new guy at the station, and here's the new
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that
station
was
story
that was
for you,
literally
yeah.
like, did you hear about Andy Rose? Like, oh, let me hear this story. You know,
It's
and then
usually like you-
afterwards, I was just like, holy shit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
are you that
Yeah.
guy? You know,
Right?
because when I got there, he's just like he always is right now, happy-go-lucky, good
Yeah.
guy, smile on his face.
Right.
You know, still, up and active and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah.
I would have never guessed it, seeing you now, knowing you now.
It was, it was a great crew. Always keep track of what these guys are up to. You know, stand promoting and race, and some of the other guys are you watch their careers progress.
Yeah.
And the engineer that day, Chris Aguirre, we were good friends. And my last assignment on the job was Fire Station 2 and in Boyle Heights, and Chris was the Captain 1. He had been promoted to captain. And let me back up. The reason why I got to 61s is because of my Captain 1 there, Sterling
Ron
Johnson.
Johnson, great guy.
Sterling.
Great guy.
Yeah.
He and Chris brought me over there. He said, hey, we're going to have a spot here. And so one of my best assignments there was 61s. I intended to retire out of there. And, of course, the department had different plans. They put me at a desk job for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Funny enough, at medical liaison, where they keep track of injured firefighters, they say, "Oh, you've been
Wow.
through the profit.
You'll be perfect.
You'll be perfect."
You know
Shoulder
how it works.
zipper.
I'm like, I don't want to go. But anyway, I had gone, and then when time was up, I went back out, and Chris had was at Fire Station 2, brought me over there, and 2s was very special to me because that's where my father retired out of.
Oh,
And
awesome.
both my
Okay.
brothers worked there as medics, and so it was kind of the family tradition.
Yeah.
My parents grew up in that neighborhood.
Twos
So
has a real
nice.
good family feel to
Yeah,
it too,
yeah.
man.
So
All the guys that
yeah.
work there, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
that's a
when
cool
back
spot.
when the city had a residency requirement, I moved into Boyle Heights with my aunt.
Oh, nice.
So I lived. So it was just
No,
like
the area
home.
is out.
Just like
yeah, home. And King
And-
Taco's right there.
and-
So, you know, you can't
Yeah.
go
Oh
wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the hopefully the family tradition will continue. My son Nathan has a conditional job offer here
Oh,
with the city.
awesome.
Ah, congrats.
And my daughter Emily has a conditional job offer with the county.
Wow.
Oh, sweet.
So,
Nice.
hopefully the
Two of
the-
our cousins just got hired with the
congrats.
county, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're kind of hoping that
Keeping
the
that fire family rolling.
keep it going.
on.
So
Great.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned Sterling. Sterling was a fireman with our dad at 47 for
Yeah,
a long
47,
time. Yeah.
And it's funny too because when they'd have like firefighter night at Disneyland and stuff, we'd always have to be like with Sterling's kids.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then for people listening, Sterling's son Ian is the Boise State running back who proposed to his girlfriend at the end of the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
That's
like
right.
Some years ago,
2007
yeah.
or something. Yeah, when they
Got
like
down
ran
on
the
a knee.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Sterling's son.
Yes, Sterling was great.
Sterling's a
Yeah,
great guy.
best yeah.
So my
The
management,
world's a darker place without him,
the
for sure.
moral of the story is my management style is always surround yourself with good people. Makes you look good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, man. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Well, how we doing time, Ben?
Yeah, we still got good 10 minutes,
Okay.
10, 15.
Um,
Hold on. So you took a year off? when you
I
came
was
back
off
on?
10 months, and it was funny is because, I didn't want to leave the job that way. There was a little bit of issues with me coming back.
Yeah.
I remember I went to a high school function. I was a luncheon at my old high school, and I was talking to a friend of mine from high school who was worked for another agency. And he couldn't understand why I wasn't going to take the disability. He just, hey man, he was retired already. He goes, retirement's great. He goes, just you got the, you don't have to go back. He couldn't understand, and it just wasn't me. I wanted to go on my own terms, and I retired out of a fairly busy house. I still
Yeah.
enjoyed going to fires. I still enjoyed doing EMS, and so I wanted to go on my own terms. So I was back to work in 10 months.
Do you remember your first fire when you came back?
I don't remember. I do remember my last fire. It was on my very last shift.
Yeah.
But I don't remember my first fire I do remember every time we did stairs, right, everybody was looking at me.
Yeah,
Sure,
hell
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I
You
was
walk
gonna
in
say.
front of us, Cap.
When I came back to 61s, we had some are high rises, and we'd go up some stairs, and everybody's watching me. And I go, what? I'm fine.
Right?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me.
Yeah. It was double checking on you now.
I'm
Yeah.
all replumbed. Don't worry about me. You know?
Good as new.
That's funny, man. Stan, you're at fives now.
Yeah.
Are you testing? Are you planning on promoting at all? Or are you just happy doing the AO job?
I'm happy with the AO, and we got a good crew.
Good
You
crew,
know,
yeah.
it's got that same feel. 61s, a lot of
Yeah.
you know, just good guys. You know,
People don't
it's-
realize how important that is, man. Having a good crew of good
Yeah.
guys that you get
Oh,
along
yeah.
with
Yeah.
and really care about.
Yeah, it's everything. for
And
sure.
it makes coming to work
Yeah.
fun, just like having a crew that you don't get along with or that you have problems with and stuff like that makes coming to
dread
work
it. Yeah,
terrible.
there's no one to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
on top of that, the being able to trust everyone. Yeah.
yeah,
It's the biggest thing.
I worked for a Captain 2 when I was a Captain 1. Dan Martin's a great guy. I wanted to emulate him as an officer.
Yeah.
He was just a super guy. But he always told me, he goes, you know why? I work at busy assignments. And we were working at 66s at the time. And he goes, and I go, well, no, you like going to fires and stuff. He goes, no. And he goes, no personnel problems.
Yeah.
He said, you're a busy assignment. He says, everybody wants to be there. He said,
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't want to be there, they're not there long.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and I said, "There's another pearl of wisdom." Another thing too, I was back to my heart attack. If I can just mention, my oldest brother said something very profound about the job and my heart attack. You know, when the firefighters' schedule was thought up, it was for firefighters. It was for firemen. You know,
Yeah.
going to every now and then they'd get a big fire and they were up all night and this and that.
Right.
But now you put EMS into it.
Yeah.
And you're getting up 3, 4, 5, sometimes getting no sleep at all.
Yeah.
And that's hard on the heart.
Yep.
And I think that's why cardiac arrest, and other than smoke and chemicals, all that stuff, but just the getting up and that's probably driven up.
Not only the actual act of getting woken out of your sleep, because the more you look into that and study about sleep deprivation, how bad that is for your health in general.
Yeah.
It's the way we're woken
Oh,
up.
it's like
you know what I
something
mean? It's
screaming in
like
your ear.
it's like dead sleep to boom, light in your
Yeah.
face and you're just like, whoa, and that jolt. That's I always tell my wife, like, fuck, my wife will do that sometimes. I'll be chilling. I love every light in my house has a dimmer.
Yeah.
I like my light being about half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everywhere. So I'll be chilling. She doesn't do it very much anymore, but I used to be like, laying on the sofa watching TV or something like that, and she'd come home. First thing she'd do is boom, pop that dimmer all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little.
And I have to explain to her, like, don't you understand that my
I'm
brain and my
conditioned.
heart,
Yeah.
I'm conditioned to jump when that shit happens.
Yeah.
Like you just made me, I was completely relaxed, chilling, and you just took me from 0 to 100 like that. Like that happens to me enough,
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
30 times a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there's a lot of different things that
Yeah.
happen on our job that I think just kind of tick away at our health a little bit at a time.
There was quite a few heart attacks before me, quite a few after me. Some of the guys didn't make it. And it's just something that goes along with the job,
Yep.
along with cancer and all that, line of duty deaths or stuff. But yeah, heart's a big one.
Yeah.
My cardiologist told me he had put stents in I think a 37-year-old guy.
Oh,
you
really?
know,
Wow.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
too
It's
young.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a macho profession, so there's a lot of not wanting to recognize little signs and symptoms too.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. I think if you get anything out of this show that we just did right now, and I want to thank you both for coming on. It's a long
Happy to
drive.
be here.
Long
Oh.
drive for you. Stan just worked last night.
Yeah, that's fine.
So thank you for coming on. I think your story is super interesting.
Yeah,
I think
you
it's
guys
really
were awesome.
important to get out and talk about your symptoms and what happened beforehand. I think it's great seeing your point of view and your perspective from it too. But I think it's important to realize that this job can affect your health in many different ways, and the little silent ways that it does are important. So it's important to rest up when you're off duty. Try to eat right, if you can. Exercise. Don't be so macho that you don't recognize your own symptoms, and talk to people or talk to your medics or get patched up at the station or something like that. If you start feeling things like that, talk about it. Let people know what's going on. Don't just bury it away and go take a nap in the dorm, because you might not wake
Sure.
there's a chance you might not wake up if you're having these symptoms and stuff.
Right.
So,
Take it seriously. Also, talked about Johnny Rockets a lot here. We want to clear up. Johnny Rockets is a great place. Delicious burgers, delicious
we do
fries.
not think they caused this heart attack.
No,
they
no, oh,
actually they actually named a burger after Captain Raya, the Raya Widowmaker.
And we're looking for sponsors, Johnny Rockets. So if you're-
35 ouncer. Yeah.
what are you doing now in your retirement?
I work part-time for the Disneyland Fire Department, and
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been doing that for, actually I did that part-time when I was active on this job, and so I've been doing that. Of course, with everything going on right now, I've been furloughed for a little bit, but looking to go back, and hoping to do some traveling when things become normal. I'm a brand new grandfather, watching my granddaughter, my oldest daughter,
Congrats.
Lauren, and son-in-law Jesus blessed us with little Brooklyn Kate.
Awesome.
And
All right.
we watch her 3 days a week, and just hopefully got my fingers crossed for my son Nathan and Emily that they will be starting their careers soon.
And how do you feel health-wise? You feel
I feel
million
great.
bucks?
I feel great.
You still exercising
Still
and stuff?
exercising. I have my own little treadmill there that I can collapse on.
Perfect. Yeah.
At home.
Just put a mattress at the end.
An
Yeah.
AED in
Strapped
every
it right
room.
onto it.
Yeah.
Life alert.
Yeah.
You got an AED in every room.
Yeah, and so
Well,
hopefully the
plug in.
wife and I will do some traveling when everything goes. That was the plan when I retired, and we've just been on hold right now. But we're looking forward to the next chapter in our lives. And, that's about it. I
Awesome.
miss the job a lot. Miss the guys. It's
Yeah.
good to be back. First time I got up early to drive in LA in a long time.
The memories.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Hey, I want to mention, I should have mentioned at the beginning, all the opinions expressed here on this show are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or Los Angeles County Department of Health Services.
No.
Thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah,
Really
thank
appreciate
you.
you taking the time. Got some T-shirts for you downstairs.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Before we
Yeah.
leave, we also got T-shirts for you people. You fine people. I'm talking to you people.
Mhm.
If you guys are interested in supporting the podcast, we have T-shirts available, $20 a piece. You can DM me or my brother, and we'll
We
take a
accept
Venmo,
Venmo.
and send it out to you. You can find me at Danny Gonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
You can find me at Ben9Humor, Ben9Humor, like benign tumor, on Instagram and Twitter. And you can follow the podcast at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Also on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can email us at contactprcpod@gmail.com if you have suggestions, complaints, or if you want to, talk about how awesome our guests were.
If you guys are listening or you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Subscriptions, views, all that stuff is important for us for placement and sponsorship and stuff like that. So if you're watching anyways, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you could rate and review us, it really helps us get the podcast out in front of more eyeballs.
Yeah, only if you like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Give us a shitty review, It's
All right.
good.
Hey, thanks
Break it
again
up.
for guys for coming out.
Thank you,
We
guys.
really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no time.